Okay, this is really weird. Why did he say thief when you saw the footage from the last time I was here? He said, like, I gave him the money. So why did he recognize me as a thief, even though I paid for it after I left the stall and came back? It's weird that he says generous young man, even though, like, he's programmed to say it automatically when you pay him without buying anything, even if you just pay him 1 penny. I'm not sure how he's supposed to know how much money you give him. I mean, I guess he's trained to recognize what green rupees look like, but he must be a very talented parrot to be able to count, like, the exact amount of rupees that you give him. Like, he must be really good at math. The thing is that parrots aren't really that smart in real life. Like, even though they can imitate human language, which is amazing, that doesn't mean they know what they're saying. So, while it comes close, it's ultimately not very realistic. But it's a Zelda game, it's fantasy. I just wish that there were more parrots, I guess, then. Cause, like, if there are magical parrots that are magical enough to be able to speak human language and know what it means. Of course, I guess he could not know what he's saying and just be saying it because he was trained to say it. Like, he only says the same lines over and over again. But all NPCs do that. This is basically as bad as Hyrule Field from Ocarina of Time. At least at this point in the game, because your horse has been stolen from you, and you walk so slowly, and there's nothing to do. There's nothing here. It's so boring and dull and empty. I mean, you can find heart pieces, and like you can find a heart piece here, and golden bug, like 1 or 2 golden bugs, and you can find money beneath a bridge, but that's about it. There's really not much to do here. Like, I find having a piece of heart here to be enough to validate it as not entirely barren, but that's not really relevant right now. Right now, you can't even get it. So I'm constantly doing like crazy backflips and side jumps everywhere, because I'm desperate to try to get through this place faster. What idiot decided it was a good idea to take away your horse at this point in the game? Why can't you just never have it stolen? Like this isn't fun at all. Also, I don't know what the point of getting a letter just for seeing the postman for the first time was. The postman is a pretty wacky and surreal character. I love that looked really cool. But yeah, I like his wimpy sounding voice clips when he's running, and he looks so wimpy. I don't think his character model looks very good at all. But I guess he's supposed to be a wacky, memorable character. Despite getting around 6 delays, Twilight Princess still has tons of unused content. There's unused animations for Link and the NPCs, rooms, exits, setups, actors, items, models, music, sound effects, text, functions, and textures that are unused. The initial North American Wii port of the game is the buggiest, containing the cannon glitch, which everyone knows about, the Cave of Ordeals debug routine, Eternal Game Over glitch, map glitch, and the Snow Peak glitch, which were all fixed for the later versions and GameCube version. I'll talk about the Cave Ordeals thing later. For the Eternal Game Over, if you try to warp while underwater at the same moment that Link is about to drown in the Wii version, the game gets stuck on the Game Over screen. This bug was fixed in later versions by not letting you warp underwater. For the Snow Peak glitch, if you stand next to Yeto and hit a specific section of the tree with the ball and chain, oh, it's a specific section! That explains it. That, and I was doing it on the GameCube version. I was trying to show it off, but it really is exclusive to the Wii port. But yeah, you hit a specific part of the tree with a ball and chain, and the game will freeze when the race begins. I could have sworn I remember that happening to me when I played the game, even though I never had the Wii version. I mean, it must have happened because, like, I fear that tree. Like, I always get the urge to hit it with a ball chain, and I don't like that because I worry that's going to freeze the game. But I guess it's not a GameCube thing? And I'm not sure I'm supposed to know which specific part of the tree you need to hit. But yeah, I really like this concept. Like, not only can Midna warp you, but she can also warp other objects with you. Sadly, this is only used a few times, but it does make it pretty memorable. And like, it helps change things up, rather than just warping. The thing about Midna's attack, with the B button that I haven't talked about yet, is that what's annoying about it is that it automatically goes after you've held down the B for a certain amount of time, which is really annoying. It's also annoying how Link walks ahead so slowly when he's charging up the attack, and like that can be really annoying when you're trying to move towards an enemy to target it as well, but then all of a sudden Wolf Link decides to use the Midna attack when you don't want to. Which is especially annoying with the Shadow Beast because you need to kill all of them. Like, you can't leave one alive or else they'll all resurrect. So, if the two Shadow Beasts aren't close to each other, and, like then you're gonna have some problems. So, I mentioned before that the Wii port has the map glitch. In early Wii releases, Link's warp sequence could be interrupted by reading something or talking to someone and opening the map at the same time. This causes Link to read or talk instead of warping. I guess they have higher priorities. This disables most triggers on the map, including those that determine loading zones in out-of-bounds areas, making various sequence breaks possible, like skipping getting the reef fish sent. Players of the original GameCube version were able to disrupt the warp sequence by pressing D right and Z at the same time. D right being right on the D-pad. And this caused Midna to pop out, interrupting the warp sequence after a warp was selected. This was fixed in the Japanese GameCube release. If you go to the cannon room in the Wii port when Chad is present and save and quit, you will reload inside the room, permanently trapped there. This is easily the most infamous glitch in Zelda history. It renders the game impossible to beat. This happens because saving and quitting brings Chad to the top of the stairs, but the game thinks he can still see you, so you're not allowed to warp out, and you can't leave the room either. And I hope that this is not the reason for forcing you to use save points in Skyward Sword. Cause the reason that glitch happened was ultimately because you got reloaded inside of the cannon room. Why did they make you get reloaded inside the cannon room instead of just getting reloaded to Eldin Spring like you always do in Kakariko Village? So it's a matter of where you reload, not when you can save. At least this game is convenient enough to let you save wherever you want, to be convenient. But yeah, the cannon room is so infamous that it got to the point where Nintendo agreed to take in people's discs to fix them. It's that bad. So it probably caused some PR problems for them. And that's not the last time that an unwinnable glitch happened in a 3D Zelda game either. Okay, how are you supposed to know that's how you're supposed to get in there? I can imagine a lot of people got stuck at that point. So, the kids are here. So basically the explanation is that the monsters kidnapped them and left them to die, but Renato found them. So why did they leave them to die? Why didn't they eat them? Again, what was the point of the Bubblins? Why did the Bubblins kidnap them if it wasn't to eat them? Why did they just leave them around so that Renato could grab them? I like how Renato is comforting the kids. Shows him as a good, sympathetic, trustworthy person. I really like Barney's personality here. Like how he's like the outspoken one. and how he's basically made a fool of you. I feel for him here. Like, he's embarrassed. You know, you never see a Native American character in a Zelda game. Like, this is definitely a change of pace. And he's a sympathetic portrayal, too. He doesn't seem to be stereotypical. I mean, well, obviously he lives in a Native American hut. I guess you can assume he's a nature lover, but it's never really stated. He feels like an actual character, which is good. I don't like how his daughter doesn't really look enough like a girl. Like, for most of my life, I assumed that was a boy. And I was confused. I mean, I guess she has a bob haircut, but her hair isn't long enough to make it... And it doesn't help that her face looks like a boy. It's probably the GameCube model limitations. Guess what the HD version didn't fix. But yeah, this is a good scene establishing how much faith Colin has in Link. Although, it's kind of to an unhealthy extent, because how does he know that Link is able to save them? How does he know for a fact that he's the hero? How can he possibly think that Link will be able to save them? He doesn't know what happened to him. I mean, I guess he knows that he can use a sword, but he doesn't know what happened to him. He could be dead. Like, from the audience's perspective, Colin is the only smart one in the group. But yeah, lighting the torches is it's more annoying than you think, because you have to jump while close to the wall. But not jump too close to the wall, or else you'll get stopped by it and not make it all the way to the next stairs. I like that reaction. What sorcery is this? I don't like how you can only talk to one of them, though. I mean, I get they're eavesdropping on them, and so you won't have the opportunity to hear every single one of them talk, because it's not like they're talking to you. But you can talk to them multiple times, so there goes that. How did these Twilight bugs get in here anyways? If you needed to move the statue in the first place in order to be able to go in here. Like, do all the Twilight bugs just warp to their locations? I'm guessing Zant was just putting stuff in Twilight for the evils, because, again, I don't see the personal benefit to him making all of this happen, like inconveniencing the light spirits and stuff. He doesn't really have a proper motive, a proper, like, what does he have to gain doing this? Like, he has a personality, a sort of excuse, but it's not quite enough. In the Wii US 1.0 release of the game, a debug routine was accidentally left inside of the cave ordeals. Putting out all the torches on a floor with the Gale Boomerang will open the door to the next floor below, letting you easily traverse the cave, ignoring most of its enemies. Sadly, this was fixed in later versions. I never knew that was a debugger's routine. I mean, I guess it makes sense. I mean, you pretty much have to be trying to make a glitch like that. How would that happen by accident? So it's just a debugger's thing that was accidentally left in. That's one of the glitches that I wish just stayed there. One of Russell's archive files contains 3 unused animations related to an earlier version of the game, when Link would have stolen the Orded Sword by pouncing on the village father, like the guy with the weird horns on his face, rather than digging into a house to get it. This state of events is also referenced by some unused text for Midna. As a result, Russell has unused animations of him falling and lying on the ground. There's also wild boar animations for eating and the like. The thing that's annoying about Eldin Twilight is that it's really awkward trying to get out of the houses with a wolf, because you can't open doors. So sometimes it can be really intuitive trying to figure out how to get out of the houses. Like generally it's intuitive trying to get into them. Like, you dig into the ground or you jump through windows. I don't see, like it's obvious padding that you can't just jump into the window and immediately go inside. No, you have to fall down and then have to go all the way back up just to jump through the window. And how the hell didn't the flying glass shards damage Link? That generally tends to happen in the media. And it's a good thing that, like, how are you supposed to know that you can physically interact with that shelf by like jump attacking into it to make it fall over? Like, there's so many other furniture in the game that you can't interact with. Normally you can't interact with furniture in a house in a Zelda game. Like, so it doesn't seem very intuitive. Like, I didn't have any problem with it, but that's because I've been playing the game for years. I mean, I've only played through the game myself like a few times. And that's, like I like the game, but I have other stuff to play. And I was only brave enough to try to play it for myself, like recently, like a couple of years ago. Before I just watched someone else play it. But yeah, this is also pretty unique right here. Because Link has to take some pretty drastic measures to get the Twilight bugs. Which makes him a bit of an anti-hero because, like, he has to do what he has to do. Like, there's really no choice that he has in the matter. Sorry, but as romantic as this is, I love Mindo's response there. It's really cheap how you get attacked by the fire trying to get out of here. Like, how are you supposed to prevent that from happening? That's so cheap. I could have sworn that I didn't walk into the fire. The fire's hitboxes is so large. It gives me anxiety trying to get out of there, which is weird because it's so quick and easy to get out of there. Yeah, you had to sacrifice someone's house in order to get the Twilight bugs. Even though technically it's just a bomb storing warehouse and that's why it was able to explode so easily. I don't know why Minna thought it was a house. Like, there's no bed or anything. So that's a real stupid moment on her part. And yeah, like I said before, in the HD version of the game, the Twilight bug up here doesn't exist. You don't have to get it. The Twilight Realm was actually going to be black and white originally. Just like old Hyrule and Wind Waker. Which would have looked pretty boring. Like, it makes sense because the reason it was black and white old Hyrule was because it was showing you that time had stopped. That nothing was progressing. It was like an old movie. But making the Twilight Realm like that, well, it would sort of make sense because, again, the whole snapshot theory. Like, it takes a snapshot of what the world would be like, and then makes time pass, and that's why water freezes. Except time is still passing. Like, the people are still talking, alive. So making it black and white would just look boring. It's much better to make it, like, oversaturated and full of bloom, but not in the sense that it's bright and hard to look at. Instead, the Twilight Realm just looks pretty, like a golden sky, although not nearly as golden as it should be, looking back on it. But, like, I just like it, especially since I tend to love dusk and dawn in general. But looking back on it, the sky doesn't look as beautiful as you'd expect, considering it's entirely based on the most prettiest time of day. Twilight Princess was originally going to have a magic meter like Wind Waker, as seen on the Wii Port's box. Unused text suggests that the magic meter would have been used for transformations. So, every time you wanted to become a wolf, which would be mandatory to be the dungeon, you need to collect magic. Which would have been annoying. Green Chew Jelly can accidentally be created in the Wii Port, but not the real version for some reason. It's useless in the final game. It wasn't programmed. It doesn't have an item description or item get text, suggesting it's a leftover from earlier builds that did feature a magic meter. Actually, Green Chew Jelly returns in the remake, but it's only there as a development gag as the flavor text for it acknowledges the item's lack of use. Because why give it a new use when they can break the fourth wall instead? Honestly, the magic meter, I think we're better off without it. Like, all it does is arbitrarily limit the amount of times you're allowed to use items. Items that are often not incredibly broken to begin with. Link was originally going to be able to ride the goats that he herds. So, I guess they would have been like the horse? How would they be different? According to the higher-ups at Nintendo, Link does canonically know how to ride them in this game anyways. It's just that you never see them. Seriously, how do you ride a goat? I mean, aren't goats way too small? Like, would they collapse from your weight? I mean, at least I can imagine a kid riding them, but